What's a uneasy feeling when you're the only car on a long stretch of road and the radio keeps cutting out? When the streetlights feel too far apart and every shadow looks like another set of headlights? Picture that. Now, imagine a girl in a white dress, standing by the roadside at 2 a.m., asking for a lift. Not asking with a smile, asking with hollow eyes. This is a story folks in Chicago still whisper about at gas stations and diner counters. They call her Resurrection Mary. And buckle up. If you're alone, lock the doors. This one crawls under the skin. It starts the way most legends do. Small, ordinary things that don't seem important until you look back. Archer Avenue at midnight. The last bus is gone. A lone radio playing an old, slow song. There used to be a ballroom near the cemetery. People danced there until late. Girls in dresses, guys with slicked back hair, cigarettes tucked behind their ears. After one particular dance in the 1930s, a young woman left in a car. She never made it home. Some versions pin the accident to a frosty night, a curve taken too fast, headlights catching on chrome. Others say it was a reckless driver and a single moment of bad luck. The details shift. The pain doesn't. Soon after, drivers started spotting the same thing, a woman in white on the side of Archer Avenue, always near the cemetery. Always the same pale dress. Always the same look of desperate hope. You'd see her standing there like any hitchhiker. You'd pull over, because that's what you do. And she'd climb in. She'd tell you where she needed to go. Back to the ballroom. Back to the cemetery. Back where she belonged. Only she never reached her stop. By the time the driver got to the cemetery gates, she was gone. Vanished. Like someone had unzipped the space she occupied and folded it away. Drivers came back with the same details. A scarf left on a seat, a wet footprint on the floorboard, a photograph that, when developed, showed a faint blur in the back seat. That's when people stopped laughing and started locking their doors. The stories multiplied, not just kids telling ghost tales around campfires, bus drivers, taxi drivers, married couples, teens heading home from a dance. They all told nearly identical accounts. There's a Catholic priest who, in one version, stopped for a young woman on a rainy night. He drove her past the boulevard and asked her name. She whispered one word, Mary. He dropped her off. Later he found a fresh bouquet of flowers on his dashboard. No explanation. There's a police officer who answered a call about a stranded motorist. He found a car at the side of the road, empty. Inside, a damp handprint on the passenger window and a single shoe on the floor. No driver, no passenger. He walked to the cemetery and found a fresh burial plot with flowers still warm. The timing didn't add up. The funeral had been that morning. Here's another. A man, let's call him Daniel, was driving home from a late shift. He spotted her on the shoulder, white dress, hair in a loose bun, thumb out. He pulled over. She climbed in without a word. She smelled faintly of roses, like old perfume. He asked where she wanted to go. She said, "Take me back." As he drove, she kept staring out the window, like she was reading the rearview mirror like a page. When they reached the cemetery, she said, "This is fine." He turned to speak to her and found empty space. Her dress crumpled on the seat, but she wasn't there. In place of a body was a lingering cold, like someone had left a window open in a frozen car. These encounters did two things. They convinced people something was happening, and they terrified those who had to explain why a dead woman kept getting rides home. The story stopped being just supernatural and became deeply human. Guilt, responsibility, the urge to help. People who picked her up felt like they'd failed her somehow. They woke in the night, sweating, replaying the moment they should have done something different. And no, she's not asking for your Netflix password. That'll have to wait. But the pattern was too consistent to ignore. Police files were strange. Drivers' statements all matched. Photographs caught anomalies. A pale blur at the edge of the frame, a shadow where no one stood. Sometimes the blurs vanished when the film was reprinted. Sometimes not. The evidence behaved like a temperamental witness. The town tried to make sense of it. Some locals stopped picking up hitchhikers, as if manners could protect them. Others left flowers along the cemetery wall, a gesture halfway between apology and memorial. Eventually, stories reached a breaking point. One night, a young man named Tom, or in some tellings a couple of teenagers, sped down Archer, laughing, the radio loud enough to drown the world. They bragged about not being scared. Boldness and foolishness mix well with fog. They saw her by the road and for a dare, rolled down the window and shouted, "Hey, want a lift, Mary?" They laughed when she climbed in, but the laughter didn't last. Tom glanced at the mirror and saw her face, then watched it fade like breath on a frozen pane. He slammed the brakes. When the dust settled, the dress lay across the passenger seat, and a single, damp footprint was pressed into the dust on the floor. No girl, no explanation. Their car broke down the next week, for no clear reason. Regular maintenance didn't explain it. Maybe that's the point. Some things don't want to be understood. They want to be remembered. It's not always about the drivers. Sometimes it's about the living who try to help and end up paying a strange price. A mechanic who towed a car found a handkerchief embroidered with a name, Mary, tucked under the passenger seat. A family who left flowers at the cemetery woke up to find the bouquet rearranged, as if careful fingers had moved it. One night, a woman drove down Archer Avenue coming back from a funeral. Maybe she was grieving. Maybe she was just going home. She pulled up near the cemetery and saw the white shape again. It stepped into the road. She braked. The girl sat in the passenger seat. She looked down and saw the girl's shoes, muddy, torn, real as anything. Then she noticed the reflection in the rearview mirror, a procession of shadow people behind them, walking slowly toward the cemetery gates. The woman sped away, breathless. The shoes stayed on the seat. When she came back the next morning to check, the cemetery was full of wreaths from a funeral that hadn't happened yet. Nobody could explain it. All she could do was put the shoes on a grave and whisper, "I'm sorry." People who live near Archer Avenue still say you can feel it in the air if you drive late. The ache of a song you can't finish, the faint smell of roses, the sense of someone clearing their throat behind you. It's less of a scare now and more of a weight, a human sadness folded into the landscape. So the next time you're driving alone late at night and you see a pale figure by the roadside, remember this story. Remember how kindness can become a burden, how the dead sometimes ask for what they can't have, and how a single moment, a stop, an offer, a look in the mirror can change the rest of your night. Do you pull over? Do you keep driving? What would you do if she whispered, "Take me back," and then looked straight at you like she could see the life you haven't lived yet? A long world stuffed care of the Iodians, where agains are the nodes to Symblate, and the 58-10-8 the things I can continues. They in living you're not alive. They am magically directed, and melted prepared it, the loves of the ideas, to meek stories of mistreatment. If you like this story, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It helps more than you think. Share this with someone who hates late-night drives. If you've ever encountered something strange on a road or at a cemetery, send it in. I might read it in the next video. Thanks for listening, and drive safe. You never know who might be waving at the side of the road.
Thanks for watching, where your fear meets the unknown and your imagination comes to life.